Hundreds of pro-Palestinian protesters causing chaos at two of America's biggest airports on one of the busiest travel weeks of the year. Demonstrators blocking streets causing massive headaches for holiday travelers. Good morning. I'm Mike Emanuel, in for Bill Hemmer. Good morning, Molly.
Good morning, and I am Molly Line, in for Dana Perino. This is America's Newsroom. Protesters held up the expressway leading up to JFK Airport. Police say the protesters threw objects at officers, assaulting two of them. Protesters carried banners with messages like, "Divest from genocide" and "Let Gaza live." A similar scene playing out at LAX. Bumper-to-bumper traffic stretched as far as the eye could see across all three lanes.
Police making dozens of arrests at both airports, most on charges of rioting. The protests come as New York City goes on high alert. Mayor Eric Adams says the NYPD is taking precautions to prevent anti-Israel protesters from disrupting the New Year's Eve ball drop.
We have Alexis McAdams monitoring this. She is live here in New York City with the latest. Alexis, good morning.
Molly, good morning. Well, it's not just here in New York that this happened. It was chaos from coast to coast, with police arresting 63 people at those two protests in L.A. and New York City. Over at JFK Airport, protests were blocking the roads, so some travelers had to go out and walk with their bags to just try and make their flight. Watch. Yeah, so that was really not fun for those travelers trying to get to their flights. 26 of those arrests yesterday were made at JFK for disorderly conduct and blocking traffic. You can see them going around there with their bags. The Port Authority dispatched 2 airport buses to try to pick up the travelers and help them reach the airport safely and hopefully on time, right? So a similar situation out at LAX Airport in Los Angeles, one of the busiest airports in the country. Protesters there holding banners that read, "Divest from genocide and free Palestine," as they locked their hands and stood in the roadway, bringing traffic to a standstill in L.A. The protesters used anything from construction debris that they could find, road signs, tree branches, and even blocks of concrete to block that road. Investigators say those demonstrators also attacked uninvolved cars, people that had nothing to do with it, that were just trying to pick people up at the airport. And also a police officer, Molly, was thrown to the ground there. That officer was not badly hurt. One person was also arrested for battery on a cop. At least 36 others were arrested for rioting. The police department posting this on X. The LAPD's objective is to ensure public safety for all while facilitating the First Amendment rights of those peacefully demonstrating. However, this was not a peaceful demonstration, they said. So we know more protests are planned in the coming days across the country, which is not a surprise. This has been going on, right, for months. And here in New York City, the mayor says they're prepared for pro-Palestinian protesters who could interrupt the New Year's Eve ball drop in Times Square. So they're going to be using drones and other equipment to really try and monitor those crowds.
Alexis, these protests remind me of some of the climate protesters that we've seen all across the world on the issue, kind of similar antics and strategies. What is the law enforcement plan to address this?
Well, they kind of have had to deal with this, right, pretty much every weekend. It's like Thursday, Friday, and it pops up again on Saturdays where they block the roadways, they block the bridges. So they have to kind of roll with it, Molly and Mike, and how to use those drones to monitor the crowds and see how big they really get. So for this, they're going to have tactical equipment. They're going to have police officers that are in unmarked vehicles, police officers in plain clothes, and just trying to have eyes above and on the ground to make sure that they can keep everybody safe, especially on something like New Year's Eve, to have all of those people out there in Times Square. They're going to block down the area around noon on Sunday anyway, but they just want to make sure they can stop these protesters from getting into those crowds.
All right, Alexis, thank you so much. Really appreciate the reporting. Definitely something to keep an eye on here as we inch closer to New Year's Eve.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.